this video we would be discussing about Ec2 server and how it works. So first, before we deploy an Ec2 server, we have to choose the region, okay? Region where we are going to deploy this server. So it's totally dependent upon the users and where they are present. So for now, what I'm going to choose is I'm going to choose Mumbai, considering that my users are from India. So I have selected AP South 1 as my region. So next let's click on launch instances. So before that, I'll tell you how to go to Ec2 servers. Just search in the top bar Ec2 and you'd be redirected here. Choose your region, which is Mumbai, and then under instances just click on launch instances. So here first what we have to do is we have to choose the operating system that we are going to use. Is it going to be Linux? Is it going to be Windows? Is it going to be Mac or anything? So for test purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with Ubuntu installation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on free tier eligible Ubuntu version. Next, what I'm going to choose is either it's going to be a 1-core CPU or 2-core CPU, 4 gigs RAM. So from this list, I'm going to choose the number of CPUs and memory that I need depending upon my requirement. Okay. So for test purpose, we are going to choose free tier eligible one, which is free for us to test, and I'm going to have 1 core of CPU and 1 gigs of RAM. This is more than enough for testing purpose. Next, configure instance details. So first one says the number of instances that needs to be created. So we can even create parallelly hundreds of instances. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at 1. So these all we'll be discussing when we go to the VPC part. So for now we'll skip all these, leave all these things under default. So let me go here and I'm going to click on add storage. So here it says root volume and it says a size of 8 gigs. So by default it will take 8 gigs, but if you want you can increase the root volume where your OS is going to get installed to how much ever size that you want. So for test purpose we'll just leave it under a default value, which is 8. And there is a value called delete on termination attribute here, right? So what this actually does is we have a server up and running. If we enable this, when we terminate the server or when we delete the server, this hard disk that we are adding, right, it will get deleted along with it. But if we uncheck this option, when we terminate the server, the hard disk will still be with us. Okay, it will not get terminated. So what we'll do is we'll just check this for now so that when we delete the server, this also gets terminated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to next add tags. This is again labeled, so I'm going to give my server a name which is a web server. So I'm going to use this server for hosting my web page or web page content. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on and hit next, configure security group. So here this is acting like a firewall. Okay, so let's discuss more about security group in detail. So we have an instance that's deployed, and security group is nothing but a firewall that's built all around it, or a layer which protects the EC2 instance. So we have a security group which covers the whole EC2 instance, and anyone who is coming in, they have to pass this firewall or this gate, and then only they will be able to come inside and access the EC2 instance. So there will be a security guard waiting outside, and he would check the identity of us. Only if we are allowed under the security group, if the security person knows us from the list he has, he'll allow us in. So from the internet, we are trying to access the EC2 instance. The security guard or the person who is going to stand, for example, the security person who's going to stand in the gate, he'll take our identity, verify it. So if we give him our employee badge, what happens? He'll understand that we are an employee of his company. So what he'll do, okay, he'll say that you're you belong to this company, you are allowed to go into the company and access your desktop or PC or work machine, anything like that. So same way, when we try to access our EC2 server from the internet, the security group acts as the first layer of security. Only if we have allowed access, it will let us to pass. Okay. So first, let's take for example, we have an EC2 server and we are going to attach a security group 1. And for this security group, we are allowing only SSH inbound traffic access. So inbound is nothing but us getting into the EC2 server. As a user, when we try to access the EC2 server, that's inbound traffic for EC2. And we've allowed the IP address only 10.10.10.10. So only if the user's IP is 10.10.10.10, he'll be allowed to go into the EC2 instance, okay, with security group 1. And we are attaching a security group 2, which is for all outbound traffic. So we are logged into the EC2 instance. If our EC2 instance wants to communicate with internet to download any software package or anything, what it uses is, it uses this security group 2, which has access to all outbound traffic. And one EC2 instance can have multiple security groups. It's not that only one security group should be present for one EC2 server. We can have multiple number of security groups for one EC2 server. Okay. And now what we are telling is, we are having a user whose IP is 10.10.10.10. Will he be allowed? He'll be allowed. And now we are having another user whose IP is going to be 192.10.192.10. Is he allowed under the SSH inbound traffic rule? He's not allowed. So when he tries to access it, he'll get rejected. And by default, all the outbound traffic from EC2 is allowed using the security group 2. Okay. So what we would configure here, we have to give SSH access. SSH access is the one using which we take remote access of our Linux machine. Okay. So we are giving access to port number 22. And here, instead of giving the IP address, we are giving an IP address 0.0.0.0/0. What this means is, any IP address can access this server. We are getting a warning as well below, right? If you do this, all IP addresses are able to access your instance. Okay. So why? Because we are from our home, we are trying to access the EC2 server that's hosted in AWS data center. So our IP will keep on changing depending upon our data service provider or our ISP provider. So that is why we give a value 0.0.0/0, which will allow us to get into our EC2 server. So next I'm going to hit launch instances and click on launch. So here for you, how it will be is, it will be like this: create a new key pair. Why you have to do this is, Amazon considers that username and password authentication is not as much secure as it was previously. And now what they are doing is, they are giving us a security key using which we can log into the instance without username and password. But the security key is a hash file which has a lot of information in it. Okay. And once we create the key pair, we'll review the contents of the security key and see how it goes. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just give some name and then choose what authentication we need. So I'm going to give in FZY and I'm going to give it an RSA authentication or RSA key format, and then I'm going to hit on download key pair. Okay. Once the key pair is downloaded, what will happen is, we'll be able to launch our instances. So since I have a key pair already with me, what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose an existing key pair. I'm going to click on, I acknowledge that I have a key pair, and then I'll click on launch instances. Okay. So before we connect to our instance, right, we have to wait for it to get into running state. So we'll wait for this. Let's try refreshing. It'll take only a couple of minutes and nothing more. It should be up and running in a jiffy. So my instance is currently in running status. So what I have to do, I have to connect to it. I'll just click on this and I'll hit on click connect. So I'm going to use an SSH client to connect to my server. Okay, EC2 Instance Connect is only for Amazon Linux, so let's use SSH client. So we have to copy paste this. So I've copied it and I'm pasting it here. Okay, so it says, what it says, there is a warning that a permission is denied. Why? Because it's getting an error due to public key, which means my public key is not present here. So what I have to do is I have to navigate to the place where my public key is present. Okay, so what I'll be doing is I'll see where I am. So I am under users SSH. Okay, my file is present under cd slash, where is it? It's under users, my username, and then I'll have it under Friday, then Pfizer, and then under studies the file is present. So first one, what I'm doing, I'm navigating to the place where my file is present, my PEM file is present. So let's verify if the file is present here. So I'm just doing an ls command to list the files present in this directory and grabbing it with my key pair name, which is fz1. Okay, that's great. I have my PEM file now. So let me just paste the same command that we copied from. So now let's just paste the command that we copied from here. So I'm going to copy it again and pasted it. So let me try if I'm able to access it. So it says bad permission, public key, permission denied. So let's check the permissions of the file again. ls-l, and the permission says that this PEM key has access to everything, so that it's not allowing us to connect. So we have to ideally give only read permissions to this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change mode and change the permissions to only read. Instead of write and execute, read, write, execute, I'm going to give it only read permission. So change mode, 4 is for read, let's give 00 for other users, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit in the file name. So let me try to connect it now, and I have been successfully connected. Okay, so let me go into sudo bash. So I'm under the root account. So now what I'll do is I'll try to install SSH. Okay, so first thing what we'll do is we are going to decide that this is a web server, right? So first what we'll do, we'll install SSH. So apt get install. Okay, SSH is already present, my fault. So what we have to install, we have to install httpd. So now we are in the root account. What we'll do is we'll install httpd because we want this to be a web server, right? So let me install apt-get install httpd. Okay, so it says we have Apache 2 and Nginx that is available. So let me directly install Apache. Okay, Apache 2 is not able there. So what is the error? We are having only Apache 2. So let me install Apache 2. It's asking me why, if I want to continue or no. If I don't want to continue, I'm going to S, hit continue. Okay, now it says that it has not found a few things. So what we have to do, we have to first update our repository links. So first what we'll do, apt-get update. So this updates the background links using which it can pull the software and install it on its own. So it's around 22 MB it needs. Okay, this is done. So let's execute the same command, install Apache 2. I'm going to hit yes again. Let's see if it goes through now. Now it has gone through and we have a server that is running. Okay, so we have what we have to do now. We have installed Apache 2, but we have to still enable it, right? So system ctl start http. It's not found. Start Apache 2. Okay, so since Apache 2 is the service that we install, we have to start Apache 2. So what we'll do, we have installed our web server now. All we have to do is, let's go to our instance and then copy this public IP that we have and then paste it here. HTTP colon slash slash and our IP address. Let's see if we're getting any response. It's getting timed out. Why? If you remember, we attached a security group here. Okay, and the security group we have only given 22 as permission, meaning we are allowed to only remotely connect to our server using SSH protocol and login. So since we are using a HTTP web server, what we have to do, we have to edit this security group and go ahead and change the inbound rule. So we have to edit this inbound rule and add it HTTP permission as well. So Apache is a HTTP protocol. It uses port 80, and then from where I'm going to give 0000/0 again. So let me save the rules. Let's see now if this particular web page is reachable. Yeah, now a web page is reachable. We have our own web server that is running and it is not having any issues. Okay. What we did, we tried to run a server and then deploy our HTTP service. We installed Apache, we installed everything and then set it up. Now what we are going to do is we are going to use a user script and then we are going to automatically deploy all the softwares we need during the startup itself. So let me go ahead and click launch instances, and then I'm going to choose Amazon Linux 2 because we already tried with Ubuntu. This time we'll try Amazon Linux for variety purpose. So let me click on configure instance details. It's going to be number of instances is going to be 1. Scroll down all the way to the bottom. There is something called as user data. So here we will put our user script. Okay, and this will get executed only once, that is at the start of boot up. So let me write my script. It should always start with bin bash. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type in hash. This is the bin bash statement, or they'll call it as shebang. Okay, and then first what we'll do, we did apt get install Apache. So apt get update Apache. So for here what we'll do is yum update. Since it's a different flavor of Linux, we do yum update and -y. So it will not ask us yes or no. And next what we do m install httpd, which is a web server service. So I'll throw a y here so that this does not ask for yes or no during the installation stage, because we'll not be there at the screen to give it a s, right? So what we'll do, system ctl start httpd. I'm starting this service and let me enable this service. It's like just startup, so by default when it starts this service should be enabled, right? So let me enable it as well. And now what I'll do, I'll just echo some information that hi, welcome to my website, something like that. Okay, and where should I put it? I should put it into the file which is present under var/www slash html slash index.html. So this is the location where our index file or our web page code files would be present, our HTML files would be present. So just echo this value. So let me add storage. So let me uncheck this delete on termination attribute for you now, so that we'll be able to see the volumes that is present even if we terminate this server. Okay. Let me go ahead, click on add. Next, configure security group. We'll choose a security group that we used earlier, in which we gave port 80 access as well as 20 access for everyone. Okay. Let me click on review and launch. Click on launch. Yes, I do have this key pair with me. Launch instances. So let's see this. Since it's going to execute our user script, it's going to take some time. Okay. So let's try to refresh it. Wait for it to come till running status. Yeah, it's fast. So it's under running status now. So should we have to connect here? Hit on connect and then go ahead and install everything like HTTP and everything since it's a web server? No, it's not needed because it is already installed by our user script that we provided. So all we have to do is we have to go here, copy our public IP address and just open a new tab, paste it here, http colon slash slash and our public IP address. Hola, my website is here. Hi, welcome to the website. It's a user script that we provided there. Okay. So this is how we use the user scripts to automate installation of software during the startup itself. And now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and here, I'm going to click on instances and I'm going to terminate this instance. So this is how you terminate a instance. So it's just shutting down and let's wait for it to get into terminated states. So we already have 3 servers. So when I created these servers, I did not uncheck this option where it says let's go directly to storage. This option was left checked on for other servers that I created. Only for the previous server I unchecked this option, right? So let's see what the behavior is. So 3 servers are terminated, but if you go here under EBS volumes or hard disks, you are able to see only one, because only for the previous server I unchecked that option, which means even after server termination we'll have the volume and be persistent in our AWS GUI. So since I do not want this, I'm going to again go ahead and delete it and delete volume. Okay. And that would be all for today.